What are the best teams and partners for the new Ultra Instinct Goku and Blue Evolution Vegeta? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We got another Dokkan Battle video for you here today. We are taking a look at the Part 2 11th Anniversary LR is Ultra Instinct Goku and Blue Evolution Vegeta. And in this video, we're going to break down their best teams, best link partners, hidden potential, and the best stages to utilize this character in. So strap on in because this one's gonna be a long one. So let's start by taking a look at the unit itself, right? Talk about how to build them, as that will influence how and who link them with. So they are a Realm of Gods category. 4 HP attack defense, 220%. So we'll build a few teams around that lead, but a lot of our teams will center around other leads as well. So taking a look here, we got attack defense 300%, additional super attack, and 70% chance of evading enemies' attack. With a single key sphere obtained, once only, we get key 7 and evade enemies' attack, right? Once only, right? So for essentially his first turn, guaranteed evasion. He also will, for that turn, give Realm of Gods category allies a chance of evading 7% and an additional chance of evading 7% for superclass characters. So superclass Realm of Gods characters get 14% evasion additionally with that up. For attacking, he also has an additional 10% chance to evade, so essentially 80% before attacking. Before receiving an attack, he also has an additional 60% damage reduction. He does have a survive KO mechanic that can be activated once per turn. And for every attack for evaded, he gets up to key 8 and attack and his critical hit chance up to 60%. When attacking with more key, he gets an additional attack 77%. And when attacking with 18 or more key, he launches an additional attack while giving superclass allies 20% and an additional 40%, that's 60% for superclass Realm of Gods allies. And he can exchange with right away, right? So whenever you're ready to exchange, you can do it, whether that's turn 1 or turn 9 or whenever. Now, one thing to note on his super attack effect, really useful here, right? He, on his basic super attack effect, he is raising attack and defense for 3 turns. On his 12 key, he is raising attack and defense for 1 turn. Now, on his EX super, which can be activated when his first attack is performed with 24 key, he has a 70% chance to do an additional an EX super attack. That EX super attack will continue to greatly raise attack and defense for 3 turns, but it will also give him guaranteed evasion for the turn once he procs it. So it's really nice there. Makes him very right. As long as you can proc it, he's pretty, he's pretty solid there, right? Never gonna take any damage. Now, once you exchange into Vegeta, he becomes significantly more offensive, right? We need to keep that in mind as we build these teams. So the Vegeta side of things, right, has attack defense 300%, an additional key 1 per key sphere obtained, high chance of performing a critical hit, and guards all attacks. With 1 key sphere obtained once only, he gets 77% damage reduction rate, and before attacking, he gets an additional 30%. So it's essentially 100% damage reduction on his first appearance. For every attack received, he gets key 2 up to 8, damage reduction rate 10% up to 40%. So, that's pretty good. He can get up to 60%, 70% damage reduction before attacking. Once fully built up. After the enemy launches a super attack at the character, he gives all allies key 3 for 2 turns. When attacking with 12 more key, he gets an additional 77% attack and defense, and 18 or key, another additional 77% attack and defense. So that stacks up, as well as launches an additional super attack. And when activating the active skill or attacking with 24 key, he gets an additional 277 attack and 77% defense while performing a critical hit. And that can carry over the UI Goku. So if you switch to Vegeta and use the active and then switch over, that part of the passive will carry over. So really nice. Now, he massively raises attack and defense for the turn, right? Nothing crazy there, but it is a massive raise. That's 100% rate. Now his active skill, right, massively raises attack temporarily and causes ultimate damage and attack 77%. One turn, sorry. Mistake on my part. The passive that procs here will not carry over. Passive is exclusive to that side of the tag. It's the active skill that will carry over. So that additional 77 attack for the will carry over to the UI Goku when you use the active skill. So knowing all of that, it makes him a really fun unit to build around, especially if you enjoy the types of things that UI Goku type characters does. Um, so it'll also inform who his partners is, because of course him be naturally being a Realm of Gods type partner, that does really affect who you link him with. So let's go ahead and thankfully we have our handy dandy Dokkan FYI up here, which we do love to use. This website is a great website for helping us figure out who the best partners are for the character on this turn, because obviously we do want to focus in on characters who activate his main links, right? So like if we take a look here, right, on the website, they do break down all of those all of those links and everything they do, right? So, right, he has Over in a Flash, Prepare for Battle, Godly Power, Kamehameha, Tournament of Power, Fierce Battle, and Legendary Power. So, as best we can, we want to get as many links as possible, right? Defense links we're not too worried about. It's mostly the attack links, which is pretty much what he has, right? All of his attack links, right? Over in a Flash, right? Prepared for Battle, Godly Power, Kamehameha, Tournament of Power, Fierce Battle. Like, it's all attack links. So 7 links if possible, right? Because if we can do that, right, we've got 5, we've got 20, we've got 30%. Over in a Flash and Tournament of Power would give us 44% plus another 20, 64% plus 15. What is that? 79% attack if we get everything. So obviously, that's not always ideal, but if we can, we want to prioritize that. And the Dokkan FYI does just that. It tells us exactly who we can run that will activate those links. So you can see here a 7-link partner for him is, since he is a UI sign, is UI sign Goku, the tech one, or the STR one. Now, obviously, these are not going to be ideal because they are obviously have started to age out from years from year 9, right? But if we take a look here, right now the AGL UI has a buff, and he is probably his best partner, missing only Over in a Flash, getting us quite still over 70% attack through everything here. Prepared for Battle, Godly Power, Kamehameha, Tournament Power, Fierce Battle, and Legendary Power. However, this guy is not going to be a good partner for long, right? At least not. I mean, he can still be a good partner in some of the shorter events, but I mean, once his limited buff goes away, he's going to be incredibly risky. But the great thing is he shares 5 links with a lot of other useful type characters, right? Since the other UI Goku you can tag right away, he shares 5 links with the Blue Evolution Vegeta, who you could put there. He shares 5 links with the LR Gods, who are still really good. He shares 5 links with their transformed state. He shares 5 links with Blue Evolution Vegeta and Tournament Power Goku and Frieza, which are not terrible choices, right? They can have their niche uses. Also with the Gogeta, right? On certain teams, you can run him with the Gogeta and it'll work out quite well. Otherwise, right, 4 shared links, right? Common Saiyan type links that he has allows him to have 4 shared links with a lot of other major cards. And, as I've always said, anything 4 or greater is typically good for your link partner when building a team. Obviously, you want to prioritize as high as you can, but sometimes 4 is all you get. And looking at the available partners, he's got a lot of good partners that are staples on a lot of good teams. Daima Forku, the 5 guys, right? Gohan, the Blues, especially. In fact, you may, in almost every situation, once the AGL UI goes away, you're probably going to find yourself linking him with the Blues more than anything, because not only are they a great partner, that first turn, he gives the Blues 99% dodge, right? So very, very helpful, right? But you're getting Prepared for Battle, Kamehameha, Fierce Battle, Legendary Power, so you're still getting 35, 45, 50% attack, which is off the links, which is still really good. Again, the defense links are not not that he really has many, but defense, we're not worried about him, right? Because he is a dodge unit. So Yeah, so the blues he links well with, right? Blue Kaioken Goku, Gogeta, right? When you're ready to do that Gogeta turn, AGL Forku, who is still very good, and you'll probably find them a lot together on teams, especially if you're running Diamond Forku or the and fours. Um, Now, where things start getting a little iffy is right when you start moving into the three links, right? Not all of these are bad choices, but many of them are choices that you will find within the teams that he's going to use. And, it'll still get the job done. You just won't see him at maximum power, but they are all common partners that will be on many of the teams that you're going to run him on. The Super Saiyan 4 Goku, the STR Vegeta, the Gogeta, the Mini Forku, right? Gogeta here, right? They're going to be in a lot of teams together, so it'll be pretty easy to link them with some of these guys. So that's for the link partners. So now that we've got an idea of who we want to link him with, we have to consider the other half of the card. Remember, this is two cards who are two very different cards with two very different link sets. So we take a look at the Vegeta side of things, right? Now we're looking at a whole different link set: Prodigies, Royal Lineage, Godly Power, Prepared Battle, Tournament Power, Fierce Battle, Legendary Power. So a lot of this, the big ones here are Prodigies and Royal Lineage, which are going to be hard to activate, right? But if you can activate all 7, you're going to have 20. You're going to have what is that? 35. You're going to have 40, 60, 75. So 80s. 83% attack if you get everything. So really, really good. However, right, when we start looking at partners, this is where things get interesting. So just like the UI Goku side of things, right, his best partner is the Int Blue Evolution, whose limited buff is only for a month. So while it will give him all of those link partners, it's obviously not going to be ideal, right? But when we get into the 5 links, we see, right, the UI Goku he works well with, the STRS, not that the AGL SSBE, which I mean does stand a chance of easy A during the celebration. So really with him, you're probably going to be looking more at his 4-link partners. And fortunately for us, right, they added for his team this guy here who shares pretty much everything except Godly Power, Tournament Power, and Legendary Power. So you're still getting a decent chunk off of those links, and realistically, when not running this guy, if you're not running him next to the other UI, then this is going to be your best option for a partner. But he still has 4 links with other Vegeta type characters, right? Because of that Royal Lineage and Prodigy's link. So that's really, really helpful, right? So you got the AGL Gogeta, the Vegeta side of AGL Goku, right? The STR Blue Vegeta off of the STR Blues, Vegeta and Trunks, right? All these are great options for them. So with that in mind, we can now start thinking about building our team. So why don't we go ahead and switch back over to in-game here, and let's take a look at some of the teams that we can build here. So I went ahead and liberty of putting together quite a few teams. So first team here is a Realm of God Center team at the top. This is the Realm of God Center team. With consideration for the fact that for the current month, we have a limited time buff for the year 6s. And this is probably the best team you can run under his own leader skill. For the time being, the limited buff makes UI Goku near unstoppable. The AGL one, of course, and the added benefit of the blues to help out the offense, right? Once you get to that turn, it's just very helpful. And then of course you also, when if you're not feeling safe, right, they are a safer option for slot 1 than the UI Goku is. So, really, really good choices there for the team. Now, of course, this is a team that you can only run for the rest of the month, and then after that, that limited time buff goes away. So we developed another team, more Realm of God Center team, still using his leader skill. And actually, I do think this team works really, really well, right? Provided you maintain the proper rotations, which isn't hard to do, right? Running Realm of Gods as a lead, you would essentially use this team, keeping UI Goku and either the blues or the either the blues or the gods with him, with one of them, and then on the other rotation, your rows and your AGL rows, or your blues and your rows, however you decided to set the rotation. But I mean, for them, for the rows, you do need to have Future Saga or Full Extreme. So since Full Extreme is not an option here, you need to keep one of the Future Saga allies on there with them. Team works really well. I tested it already on BioRoly, and it works really, really well. So it's not a bad team. So that's one option you can run here. Another option here, if you're feeling a little dangerous, you want to play with that full power setup with the Tech Blue Kaioken Goku. This is definitely one you can try out. It's kind of a fun team. It's not perfect, you definitely a lot of risk here, but the reward is there, and that's what I like about that team, right? You get this team going, and it's really, really fun. But that pretty much exhausts your options for the Realm of Gods side of things. There's just not enough at the current moment to run too many different variations on the team. So that brings us to the other leads, right? One of his other great leads is the Daima Super Saiyan 4 Goku. You could literally run a team of all of the anniversary LRs and look a little something like this and pretty much dominate every slice of content. I like running the AGL Super Saiyan 4 Goku with this team, but you could easily swap him out for the Daima Vegeta. But having the AGL Super Saiyan 4 Goku does help out Gogeta a little bit, as well as providing that giant form once help out. You can also swap him in for Goma too if you're really worried about it, but this works out well. Right? He's also on the Vegeta team, right? The Vegeta's family team from the Daima Vegeta on part 1. Don't recommend this team, honestly, but it is an option. If you wanted to run Daima Vegeta as a lead, you could run a little something like this, and it would work out quite well. I would keep him with the blues here and keep Daima Goku and Mini Goku together, basically, while having your 3 Vegetas be your floaters. Another option, again, right, running that Tech Blue Kaioken Goku, you could run him as lead and run a little something like this, relying heavily on him and the full power, and the STR Daima Goku, mainly for your attackers, and then, of course, playing to getting Blue Kaioken revived, his big attacks. Whether or not you have the Int or AGL UI Goku past that turn, I mean, past that month, right, when they've got that, this team will still kind of function for the way it needs to function. You could easily swap out Blue Evolution for somebody else, but the 2 UI Gokus could remain because you're basically playing the risk game with their dodge. Another option is down here at the bottom. This is kind of our final team we put together, and that is with the GT Super Saiyan 4s as the lead, since they do lead Power of Wishes, All Out Struggle, and GT Heroes, or not All Out Struggle, Power Beyond Super Saiyan, that you could easily run a team like this, and it would be a very, very solid team here. In fact, you could not only would this team work in pretty much most of the current content, which is short content, because of the way the GT duo stacks, giving 10% to each ally, just like the Vegeta and Trunks. Running 2 of them would allow you to run this whole team right here in Festival of Battles, allowing the UI Goku to work well in Festival of Battles, even though he is not typically a stacker. So the way you would essentially run the team is, you would have GT duos each on one rotation, so you keep up the 10% stack off their EX Super, and then have the Kai Goku and the blues running the separate rotations, because the rest of your 3 characters don't really need to be on until you're ready for them to build up their attack towards the end. And it'll work quite well. All of these teams, right? Even the worst of the teams are going to work quite well in some of the content. So, speaking of that content, right, if we want to talk about where they're going to be utilized the most, right, most of I would say the best stages for the teams centered around UI Goku are probably in the 2 11th anniversary special battle stages. He's really good there because it's sort of those short burst fights, usually ending by turns 4 or 5, which is kind of how UI Goku wants to work. Right? After turn 5, you kind of want him off of rotation. He works really well in the artificial life forms, right? The shorter ones towards the end, the Bio Broly, the Gammas, and the Somax, a little bit better than some of the longer ones, just because, right, there tends to be a lot of attacks early on, getting built up quick, and then you can get him out of there once things start getting dangerous after that active skill turn. But that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not too, I mean, outside of the special battles from GDC, which of course he will also do well there, there isn't too much other content that came out of the 11th anniversary, right? Aside from special battles, which he could still work into. But otherwise, you know, he's going to work pretty much everywhere you want him to do, right? That's the nice thing about a unit like UI Goku, who kind of has everything he needs within his kit, and that makes him almost unageable. So, guys, that is it for our video. That is my recommendation for how to build teams around UI Goku. His teams are significantly more limited, I think, than the GT Duo's teams, and that's just by nature of one being a tournament of power unit. They tend to be pretty limited to begin with, and two, being his own Realm of Gods leader, there's very few characters you can run him with on that team until they start to buff up the category, which they very well could do, just like they did Giant 8 Power last year. But we shall see as the years go on. So guys, that is it for the video. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And in the comments down below, let us know what kind of teams are you running with the UI Goku? Do you like the team setups we have here? Let us know in the comments down below. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.